We begin this morning with Dr. Amy Hagerman, our OSU Extension Ag Policy Specialist. And Amy, crop losses this year, 2025, pretty extraordinary. But there is some hope in Washington the last few days that you're here to talk about this morning. So we'll just let you dive right in.
Yeah, so as we look back on 2025, pretty exceptional losses, even as we think about it in historical terms. About $40 billion is estimated by Texas AgriLife. So whenever we think about the programs that were implemented in 2025 to help address some of these losses, most of them are based on a marketing year average, which means those payments won't even be calculated until mid to late in 2026, with payments arriving late in 2026. As a result, USDA put together this Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. Now, producer groups have been asking for this program for a while. We've been contributing information on what those losses are going to look like in the year in order to make those calculations.
There were some crops that were affected a lot more than others this year. Give us some context there.
Yeah, so as we look across our crops, anything that's pretty export dependent was hit pretty hard this year. There's a couple of reasons for that, and others certainly know these things better than I do and can go into the details. But as we think about wheat, as an example, we've really come down from some fairly strong prices a couple of years ago to expectations for 2026 that are under $6. And we think about that in terms of strong crops elsewhere in the world, what that means for the supply of wheat across the world, and then also the price competitiveness of U.S. wheat with tariffs that are in place. We also think about soybeans. One of our biggest markets, China, didn't purchase a lot of soybeans in 2025, and that had impacts on our crops. Now, we do expect some stronger purchasing in 2026 from China for soybeans based on recent announcements. But until those beans start rolling out of the United States, we would still expect, some of the depressed prices in that crop as well. We'll also think about grain sorghum, another major export to China as an example. And then we also think about cotton, where we do export most of our cotton for processing in other countries. So we have a combination of really strong production here in the United States, which is a good thing, but it's combined with more competition in the global market. And as a result, we're seeing these depressed prices without a really strong expectation of price recovery in 2026.
So a bridge is needed, thus this program that has arrived at the end of the year. What is the timeline and what does the application process look like for producers? Hopefully streamlined.
Yes, it is a pretty streamlined process. And we've seen that in recent years with other programs that Farm Service Agency has really made an effort to streamline their applications based largely on information that producers already have in place at their Farm Service Agency office. Crop reports should already be in that these payments will be based on. They're going to be a flat per acre payment, as we've seen with other kinds of payments. We can go back to Market Facilitation Program, Emergency Commodity Assistance Program, other kinds of programs that had a similar structure. Payments are expected to come out at the end of February. Producers need to make sure that those crop reports, if they haven't filed them for any reason, are in by the end of December.
So that is a pretty quick turnaround, especially in terms of how sometimes the government moves on things.
Absolutely, and that's the benefit of being based on information that producers already have in place. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again, record keeping is absolutely essential, and staying on top of your regular crop reporting with Farm Service Agency.
That February timeframe is intentional though, right? To give kind of a shot on the arm for the next growing year.
Absolutely. If we think about our planting cycles and when we need to start incurring some of those expenses to put a crop in the ground, that end of February timeline is going to be really important to allow producers to make those decisions about their expenses for the coming year.
So kind of wrapping all that up, kind of words of guidance for producers who are following this and may be affected.
I think, risk management absolutely essential. Thinking about how you can spread your risks, thinking about managing costs of production. You know, one of the things that we've seen throughout time with agriculture is that we tend to be a pretty hopeful bunch. You pretty much have to be in this business. And I think producers are going to get out there, they're going to make the decisions that they can in the current market to manage their risks and to be in a better position when this market does upswing, because it will.
All right. Amy, great information. Appreciate the notes of optimism as we wind down the year, and we'll see you again very soon.